They still, just compliment you. Come on.
Hey, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here to do another video. And we're talking about the biggest news story of the year so far here in 2026. First of all, I want to wish everybody again a happy new year. And immediately we start off with a big bang, a major change in the geopolitical landscape of the world as the United States has captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia in the middle of the night in Venezuela with airstrikes um, and a clandestine action. And the world is up in arms about this because many people feel this was an illegal action. And it was by President Donald Trump. This was not sanctioned by Congress. He did not have the go ahead by either House of Congress to make this action. Uh, he did it without warning and without hesitation. And his claim was that Maduro was sending drug traffickers to the United States and engaging in drug related terrorism with gangs such as the Tren de Aragua gang from, well, last we heard about it, they were doing it in Colorado 2 years ago. So Trump felt it necessary to take action and strike against um, a neighbor. So, but what is the real reason? What is the actual reason that Donald Trump and the United States government would want to be invested um, in Venezuela? What does Venezuela have? What is a natural resource that Venezuela has that the United States wants to possess? Actually, Donald Trump is not like other presidents. George W. Bush, when he went into Iraq, he didn't say that the real reason was for the oil and natural gas. Um, when he when they we stood in Afghanistan, even after the capture of Osama bin Laden, the president of the United States, Barack Obama, at that time, he didn't say the reason was that we were invested in the poppy fields for drug manufacturing in Afghanistan, right? And usually presidents are not necessarily all that honest about the Cassius belli, the reason. Remember we talked about that word, Cassius belli, a word in Latin which means cause and effect. The reason. They need a reason in order to go to war with a principality. You need a reason that you tell the people, and then you need the actual reason. Well, Trump, in his press conference after it happened, first of all, in the press conference, he continued to talk about only things he'd done, such as the capture of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi before in 2019, or the killing of Qasem Soleimani in 2019, and continuously praised that, only to talk about and denigrate other presidents, even ones that have passed, such as Jimmy Carter, for his failed rescue in Iran in 1979, or the failed pullout of Afghanistan by Joe Biden in 2021. So it's like he's only once again making it about himself and being completely narcissistic, which is not unlike Trump. This is typical Donald Trump behavior. He makes it about himself each and every time. Everything must be about himself, and he will never admit failure, even if he's caught in a scam or a lie or whatever. He will never admit failure. He will never admit he's wrong. This is the type of individual that he is, and everything he does is good, and everything anybody else does is not good. You know what I mean? So according to him, this is the use of hyperbole. This is the best capture ever. In the middle of the night for Maduro. As you can see, they tied Maduro up, with a water bottle, just standing there blindfolded in the middle of the night. And this is what they did, and they planned to bring him to New York City to try him. Now, one thing I don't understand, and I can't really understand, is why New York City? I mean, he has nothing to do with New York City. It's a federal case. He's a foreign dictator or foreign head of state. Why bring him to New York City? Our newly elected and newly inaugurated mayor, Zorhan Mandani, Aaron's correct. It only took a few hours to get him. Uh, Says that he was on the phone with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump, he had advised Donald Trump to not do this. This is because this would be an international incident. And I agree that it would be. But what is some of the reasons why? Venezuela is an OPEC nation. For those that don't know, OPEC is the nations that are petroleum nations, oil producing nations. Some of these include Iraq, Iran, most of the Gulf states, Indonesia, Nigeria, and those are some of the major players. But Venezuela is among these. And in the 1970s, the government of Venezuela nationalized their oil fields. And obviously, the nationalization of the oil fields dealt a blow to ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil was established in 1882, dealing mostly with Venezuela and Latin America. Like most Latin American countries, Venezuela has a unique and complex relationship with the United States vis-a-vis imperialism and control. In 1498, Venezuela is discovered by and colonized by the Spanish. It then gains independence in 1821. From Spain. From there, it's always had a tumultuous relationship going back, like I said, to the 1800s with the United States. This whole thing of Latin American countries being exploited by the United States is a common theme we often see. It was once part of Gran Colombia, which Colombia got its independence. Colombia, Venezuela, and Ecuador, they were once part of the same country, but eventually split off into various other factions and became three independent nations. So, and Trump admitted in the speech that the United States will be exerting influence and will be staying in Venezuela for as long as we have to in order to get things straight. What it means by getting things straight, let's just be honest, it means putting a regime in power that is favorable to U.S. and international and multinational corporations' interests. You know what I mean? Serving capitalistic masters. Obviously, the administration of Hugo Chavez, the former dictator of Venezuela who passed away in 2013, and the administration of Nicolas Maduro, the regime of Nicolas Maduro was not favorable to the United States or Western interests. Pardon me, I said something incorrect. They gained their independence in 1811, and immediately started doing business and being exploited, as it were, by the United States by the 1820s. The United States established English-speaking outposts in there. Right. Aaron is saying the opposition leader will most likely be the leader of the new country. Aaron, we saw this before. We saw this last year. Don't you find it interesting that both Venezuela and Syria, now have regime change, and both Venezuela and Syria were allies with Russia and China, especially Russia. Russia was very favorable towards Maduro's administration, just like they were very favorable to Bashar al-Assad's administration. And we know that Russia is trying to establish itself once again as a superpower through the BRICS alliances. And more nations in the so-called third world are joining BRICS now. You know what I mean? Indonesia joined BRICS last year. Um, you know, all these other nations than just the main BRICS countries of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And of course, that will scare the United States because you move away from the currency of the United States, you move away from the power and the hegemony of the American dollar, and you move towards a newer global hegemony and a newer global standard away from the dollar into a different currency, making that currency more powerful. That would take away from the United States into these other nations. But I find it interesting that um, the left is the left in the United States is not really speaking out um, for this. You know what I mean? They're not really saying anything about it necessarily. I haven't really heard anything specifically from the Democratic Party in the United States condemning Trump's actions just because it's Trump, but not really realizing, I guess, that Trump is more of a puppet in this sort of thing. But it's crazy how, like, okay, say China were to invade Taiwan tomorrow. Trump and others would come out and condemn China for invading Taiwan, saying that Taiwan is a sovereign nation and shouldn't be invaded. Well, shouldn't that apply to Venezuela as well? Venezuela is a sovereign nation. Conceivably, any country that wants to invade a neighbor could conceivably come up with a reason why that neighbor needs to be invaded and colonized. We saw that pattern with Putin when he invaded Ukraine. He called it denazification, or Netanyahu when he forcibly occupied Gaza. So basically, Trump is basically saying that the United States is going to colonize Venezuela outright, de facto colonization, and de facto militarization. So everybody that thought Donald Trump was not was an anti-war president, he was not an anti-war president, and this proves it. So that's it. They're going to exploit the mineral resources of a third world country. And what's going to end up happening, a lot of Venezuelans are happy. Venezuelans here in the United States are happy about it. But of course, because much like Cuba, once socialism was instituted, those that were on the higher up of the economic echelon in Venezuela, leftovers from Spanish colonialism. Spanish colonialism did a hell of a number on all Latin American countries, established the hierarchies that existed in the Latin American countries. So even after they gained their independence, there's still, a lot of economic disparities based on, blood percentages. Those that were higher, those people that had higher Spanish ancestry, from Spain itself, on the higher end of the economic spectrum, and those that are on the had more indigenous or African ancestry on the lower end of the economic spectrum, the caste system we spoke about before with regards to Latin America. There is a lot of economic disparity in Latin America, and socialist regimes like that of Chavez's or Fidel Castro's, sought to even that out. And I'm not saying that socialism or Marxism or communism is good, but I'm just saying that there are good elements to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater is what I'm trying to say. But now we'll see a new ally. Juan Guaido was somebody who they wanted to, um, in like 2018, 2019, put in power. I'm not sure if he's the one that they're going to want to put in power now, but Trump has done this, and this is going to be Trump's legacy now. He got rid of yet another U.S. adversary. You know, we went for the easy target. The easy target is Latin America. He used drugs as a reason. But let's talk about the double standard. This is how you know it's a double standard, guys. Trump pardoned, or Trump is okay with and cool with, an individual named Juan Orlando Hernandez. Who is Juan Orlando Hernandez? He is the leader, the former leader of a country, Honduras. Now, Honduras, another Latin American country, also guilty of exactly the same thing, drug trafficking into the United States. What does Trump say about him? Nothing. You know what I mean? So, see the double standard? Venezuela, socialist, engaging in drug trafficking. Honduras, not socialist, not also engaging in drug trafficking, and Donald Trump has nothing to say about it. So, see the double standard is abundantly clear. Aaron, nice to see you back, man. Happy New Year. Uh, but that's all I got to say about this. Interesting times to live in. We're seeing, from my perspective, mhm, yeah, man, it was a wild party. This is the ex-president of Honduras, right? The ex-president of Honduras. But it's just another example of the good neighbor policy, the Monroe Doctrine, because in 1808, the United States instituted what they call the Monroe Doctrine in an effort to cleanse the Americas, cleanse North and South America of European influence. They then, the United States, began to exert power and influence over places like Venezuela. And then during Perez's regime in the 1970s, when they tried to nationalize it, we had a problem with it. And when they further tried to nationalize it with Chavez and then Maduro, we continuously had a problem with it. So basically, it's just like anywhere else, guys. We're not necessarily against dictatorships, unless if they serve our interest. Like we were cool with Papa Doc Duvalier in Haiti, right? But we were not cool with Jean Bichon Aristide. Why were we not cool with Jean Bichon Aristide, but cool with Papa Doc and his son, Baby Doc Duvalier in Haiti? Because one served our interests and the other did not. Why were we cool with the Shah? The Shah was basically, before the Iranian Revolution, the Shah was a dictator. But we were cool with that dictator, but we were not cool with the Islamic Republic of Iran under Khomeini. So Batista was a dictator in Cuba. We were cool with him, but we were not cool with Fidel Castro. So see a pattern here? It's not the principle of the thing. It's who's on our side and who isn't. Ahmed al-Shara. Ahmed al-Shara right now, or aka Mohammed al-Jalani in Syria, he's killing people, right? He's killing Christians. He's killing Yazidis. He's killing Alawites, other Shias in Syria. Are we saying anything about it? No, we're not saying anything about it because he's favorable to the West and to the United States. So it's not a thing of principle. guys. Like I said, Juan Orlando Hernandez, pardoned by Donald Trump. Technically, Nayib Bukele in El Salvador, even though he's Nayib Bukele in El Salvador, is cracking down on this kind of drug trafficking sort of shit. With the gangs at least, like with the MS-13s, the Sureños and stuff in El Salvador. But um, he's doing it through dictatorial means. It's not going to get done through, wishing it so. So certain dictators are cool and certain other ones aren't. We trade a lot with China, so we're quick to overlook human rights abuses, like I always say when it comes to the Chinese. But we're not quick to overlook human rights abuses when it comes to North Korea. So China's cool, but North Korea isn't. Um, you know, when there's no consistency with regard to how the U.S. and the West in general looks at these nations. But I appreciate, in a way, Donald Trump's candidness, like other presidents, like here's the thing with liberals. Liberals are going to complain and liberals are going to bitch and talk about. I'm talking about Democrats and people on the left in Western nations, like Aaron's in Australia. I'm here in the United States. The people on the left that are going to complain, or people in the UK or whatever, Western countries that are on the left, they're going to complain. They're going to say, well, can't believe Trump is doing this. This is the classic example they use, Hitler invading Poland in 1939, right? This is an example. Right, Trump is an open book. This is an example of that. But here's a big one. Bigger than the butt of Cardi B or Nicki Minaj. Here's a big one. Barack Obama, 2012. Libya. 2011, Libya. Barack Obama invades Libya, overthrows Muammar Gaddafi. Why? Because Muammar Gaddafi was once again trying to gain economic independence for African nations, moving it away from American currency and basically chasing out Western influence. Gaddafi was always a dictator, but why was he bad then and not before? But liberals completely covered it up. They excused Obama, but they spent the last 8 or 10 years before that bitching and complaining about what the Republicans were doing when they invaded a sovereign nation with no necessary cause when they invaded Iraq. So it's not only wrong when your guy does it and right when the other. It's not only wrong when the other guy does it and right when your guy does it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And I want neocons and MAGA to do the same thing. I want neocons and MAGA to acknowledge that neocons have basically taken over their party from a foreign policy perspective. I want them to say, you know what? We wanted to steer the MAGA movement and the America Firsters, they wanted to steer Trump in one direction, away from international affairs and to focus on internal issues. But inevitably, that has failed now. Trump has caved in this second term. He's going to be fully more engaged in the international goings on of the world. First, the Iran thing during the 12 Days War last year, and then now this. He's going to be more international in his scope. He is not America first anymore. He seeks to serve the interests of these multinational corporations that have interests in places like in regime change in places like Iran and Venezuela. So that's all, guys. Trump has failed. The America Firsters. Peace, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell button. See you when next video is coming up.